All right, everybody, now we are going to head into a fun fact, which, in case you guys don't know, I do Fun Fact Fridays on my YouTube channel, All Things Taylor. And in those, I will either share something fun that I learned or a historical story to give you some insight and maybe some motivation, right? Where I think that there's, a hidden symbolism or something that I think that all of us could take away from in the prior stories. So I've done, the medical discovery, the accidental discovery of insulin that led to, saving children's lives at a Toronto hospital. We also talked about the confined woman of Poitiers, and today we are going to talk about perspective. So that is going to be the key phrase for today. The sentence is, it's all about perspective. Now, I want to be very clear on this because I think toxic positivity is actually a real thing that has been passed down from generation to generation, but that doesn't mean it's completely incorrect. And that's why I'm saying it is, in fact, all about perspective. Just because somebody's older doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong in today's modern society. Just like some old ways of doing certain things aren't always wrong just because there's a new way of doing it, okay? We see that a lot in lessons learned and in life hacks and helpful tips and tricks. But also I think it's mindset as well, because I think one of the reasons why we're in the society that we're in is because of generational curses being passed down from generation to generation. Instead of people fixing their own shizit before having children, we indirectly pass certain things down in the way that we raise our children or the way we choose not to raise our children, and self-regulating our emotions and our ideas and our mindsets. And I think that all comes down to perspective. So here we go. I want you to go on this trip with me, okay? I want you to imagine that you were born in the year 1900, okay? Not 2022, not 2023, not 1979, 1997, 1989. I want you to imagine for 1 minute, forget all of the existential circumstances of your life, and picture being born in the year 1900, okay? By age 14, World War I has officially begun. It starts and ends by your 18th birthday. 22 million people were killed throughout the course of World War I. Okay? By the time you're 18, going through 19 and 20, the Spanish influenza becomes an ultimate epidemic, okay? It hits, and through age 20, you have people passing away from Spanish influenza. Roughly 15 million people were killed and died as a result of the Spanish flu in 2 years, from age 18 to age 20. Now, I want you to imagine that you are 29 years old, okay? The Great Depression begins. Banks fail. Jobs are being lost every day. Death skyrockets. The death toll is unimaginable. Poverty explodes. The economy crashes. And people are worried that it will be the end of the United States and the world economy. Okay, unemployment goes up to over 25%. The global economy goes in a downfall of over 27%. And that continues until you're 33 years old. Okay, the country almost collapses. Now you're 39 years old. Okay, World War II starts. By the time you're 41 years old, the U.S. officially enters World War II. The world changes as you know it. Men are leaving to fight for not just our country, but the men and women dying overseas. Okay, the women enter the workforce to try to keep the country going. Future is uncertain. Between the ages of 39 until you turn 45, 75 million people lost their lives. And on top of that death toll in World War II, the Holocaust killed another 6 million plus people. Now you're 52. The Korean War starts. Once again, the world is uncertain as to how this is going to go. Okay? Due to the Korean War, another 5 million people lose their lives. By the age of 64, imagine what you've already been through by the time you are 64 years old now. Being born in 1900. Now, you're 64. You think, okay, nothing else could possibly happen. Well, you were wrong. Because now begins Vietnam. Over 4 million people died during the course of Vietnam. That debacle, also combined with the Cuban Missile Crisis, threatens the world as you know it. Once again, your daily life is uncertain. Okay? This is a catapulting tipping point that you were living in. during the Cold War. Okay? Now you are 75 years old and Vietnam finally ends. The men who are lucky to survive come home to an uncertain America and an attitude shift, unlike any they had ever seen in the prior wars that were around for the United States, okay? In the 80s, the U.S. enters Afghanistan. Now in the 90s, you've got the Gulf War ensuing, okay? Imagine now it's 1985. You are 85 years old. You have, been lucky enough to get married, have children, and now your children have had children. You are now a great-grandparent. You survived the odds for 85 years. And you have a child, a great-grandchild, who now tells you that you don't know how hard it is to be in school today. It's all about perspective. How much did you survive just to make it to 1985? World War I, Spanish flu, the Great Depression, World War II, economic collapses, global epidemics, poverty, hunger, homelessness, death, destruction, war, murder, all for a child in 1985 to say you don't know how hard it is to be in school today. Okay? All that you have survived, it's a perspective. It's all about perspective. Okay? All the blood running through your veins right now is a story. Imagine how many sacrifices, how many decisions were made and odds overcome in order for you to even exist. My grandmother was born in 1933. Her family survived the Great Depression. She overcame World War II. Okay? She overcame so much before she died in the 90s, okay? My grandfather fought in the Korean War as a minor. There's so many things that we today take for granted because we don't know what it's like to not have them. During World War II, people couldn't even make cakes because of rations for sugar. If you think about it, during COVID, young children couldn't even have real birthday parties, so people went by their homes honking a horn. It's all about perspective. When we have become so spoiled as a society that we don't necessarily know what it's like to struggle through things like World War I, World War II, a Holocaust, the Korean War, the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, okay, Vietnam. Okay, some of us weren't even alive during the Gulf War. Okay, there are some people today that don't even understand that the United States was in Afghanistan in the 80s. It's all about perspective. And when you grow up feeling so entitled that you think your world is ending because you didn't get enough likes on your photo on social media, think about what that really says about you. Think about all the people that had to make so many unimaginable sacrifices just for the worst part of your day to be that you didn't get enough swipe rights or you didn't get enough likes and thumbs up and thirst-filled comments on one of your photos. It's all about perspective. How are you honoring the blood that runs through your veins? How are you honoring all the family members that made it possible for you to even be alive today? Think about all of the tragedies that prior generations had to overcome just so you could be born, just so you could be alive today, experiencing the world today as we know it, which could very well change tomorrow or the next day with the way things are going. Could we be entering the same uncertainty that our prior family members and prior generations went through during the Cold War, during the Cuban Missile Crisis? Could we? We don't know. We're going to have to be the ones that potentially live through it or don't. We don't know. It's all about perspective. So think about what you are doing today and think about why not you? Why not now? Why not today? Okay? It's all about perspective. Think about this story that we just went through, going through our lives from the year 1900 to 1985. Yeah, certain things are different and they may be harder, but thinking in a certain perspective, are they really harder than going through the Great Depression? Are they really harder than going through World War I? Are they harder than going through World War II? Would you have survived Vietnam? How do you think the Cuban Missile Crisis was handled and should have been handled? Do you understand how close we were to it being handled very, very badly? Similar to the Vietnam War? It's all about perspective and how we should be doing a better job at honoring the blood that runs through our veins, going out into the world and trying to make the world a better place without entitlement, with understanding and respect for all of the things that happened for us to be here today. It is all about perspective. Do you really need those likes? Or is there some bigger purpose as to why you were born and why you exist and why you are the only you that there is? That's special. That means something. The blood in your veins is a story that deserves to be told. Honor it. Honor the sacrifices that were made. Honor the people that fought so hard for you to exist one day. Because they might not get a chance to witness the amazing opportunities that we have today, but that's not their fault. That's how life works. It's all about perspective. What are you doing that's going to make you better tomorrow? What are you doing today that's going to ensure a better future for tomorrow, a week, and 10 weeks from now? It's all about perspective.